Okay, this is demo number 1 for project number 3, creating icon sets. The first thing that you want to do when you create icon sets is to think and brainstorm of the set. As with all design process, the more time you spend brainstorming and coming up with ideas, the better the idea that you will have to run with. So the first thing you need to do is kind of think of a set and then think of items in that set. If the idea of a set is confusing to you, you can think of it more as like a general theme, and then you have specific things within that theme. So here's the brainstorming that I did. Basically all of this is a result of me just looking around my house. So the first thing that I see in my house is toddler toys. If my set is toddler toys, I just started thinking of like what are toys that we currently have or possible toys for toddlers. Um, so I came up with bike, ball, scooter, Hot Wheels cars, train and tracks, swing, doll, stuffed animals, drum, and rattle. And then that led to the idea of playground stuff, which was taking a couple things from toddler toys and just running with playground. So slide, swing, monkey bars, climbing net, tunnel, table and chairs. Um, and then it's Joshua's birthday soon, so I have been thinking about his birthday. So some things that I thought about for birthday were balloons, cake, gifts, banner. You'll notice that I couldn't get 5 for a birthday. I could if I started to get specific, but I was kind of keeping that one generic. So it didn't feel like I could come up with, I mean, I suppose if I thought more, I could come up with a 5th one, but it felt like I was kind of trying a little bit too hard. So I just kept going. We have a lot of houseplants, so I tried to do a set of houseplants of a palm, a succulent, a peace lily, spider plant, poinsettia. We have something I'm not quite sure the name of. It's this red flower thing, but it's pretty fun. And then just looking in our kitchen, I thought about like all the different coffee making options. So coffee pot, Keurig, Chemex, pour over, French press, or instant coffee. So one of the things when you're as you're brainstorming or kind of after you're done brainstorming, again with brainstorming, like even in the moment, if you realize like it's not going to be a good one, so for example birthday, I realized pretty quickly I'm not going to get 5 good ones. Like keep writing it down anyways. Like with brainstorming, the more you write down, the more options just you have available to you. And so, one of the things you're going to want to think of with your set is how do you create a consistent set? So, if you look back on toddler toys, you noticed I ended up crossing off bike, scooter, and swing because those felt like bigger things than toys. They felt like they didn't fit into the set in terms of how I was creating the set. And then I ended up starring ball, train, doll, stuffed animals, and drum. I didn't choose to go with the Hot Wheels car because it felt like the Hot Wheels car and the train kind of duplicated themselves in a way that was unnecessary, and same thing with the drum and the rattle. So it's this weird balance of you want things in your set to feel they're kind of like of equal balance. So like a bike feels like it has a much bigger balance than a ball in an idea. But then you also don't want to feel like you're duplicating things. So the rattle feels like it duplicates a drum. So there's you kind of have to kind of and what really helps is if your list of items is bigger than 5, because then you can choose the 5 items that seem to fit the best. Another thing that you can think of as you're trying to make a decision is how you plan to visualize them. So, again, if we go back to the bike and ball comparison, a bike is much more visually complex than a ball. I can make a bike simpler, but some of these things, like as you're thinking through, you want the ideas to kind of feel consistent, but you also want how you're going to visualize it to feel consistent. So that leads us into sketching. So to start sketching, I just took my list of things, my list of 5 items, and I started sketching them from my brain at first, and then realized that kind of my brain can be limited. So I started looking on Google Images just to get some inspiration for like details or different ways of portraying things. Now, the trick is, if you type in something in Google Images, someone's done it before. So you want to be careful you're not exactly copying things that other people have done. But you'll be able to adjust things with your line style, your shape style, and also your color choices. So it's kind of this back and forth. But with sketching, it can be helpful to kind of look and just sketch some things that you see there. So the first thing I did was a volleyball sort of thing. And then I thought, how do you make just a simple ball? Because again, it's a toddler toy. So I did those little kind of motion marks on the outside. And then I did a beach ball, a soccer ball. There was one ball that I had that just had a stripe. It ended up looking like a pool ball though. And so then I tried adding more stripes to see if that helped. And then I did a tennis ball. After that, I just went in and I just kind of drew a toy train from memory. And then the classic toy train for toddlers is Thomas the Tank Engine. So I drew Thomas. And then I went and started drawing some dolls. My first doll is a little bit creepy. I was trying to get those eyes that like open and shut, which is kind of creepy, but this doll ended up weird. So then I went and I sort of did the classic like little girl doll. And then I did a Barbie. And then I kind of did one of those more realistic dolls that looks like a baby. I really like how this turned out. So the way I tried to make it look like a doll was get those really wide eyes going. After I drew, so as I'm drawing these, I don't necessarily have to fall in love with any of these, but I do have to just try out a couple different options. So then I did a teddy bear. I did one with like legs sticking more out and then one with the legs kind of in, and it was a bit more stylized. And I really liked that second teddy bear. And then I did a drum. I did kind of a classic drum first and then a little bit, I just drew 2 different kinds of drums, and then I did a hand drum. And then as I was looking online, I thought, well, I'll just see what other toddler toys are there that I'm not thinking of. And I realized like, oh, toddlers love puzzles. So I did a puzzle. And then I thought, oh, toddlers love crayons too. So I drew a crayon, and then I tried doing a butterfly shaped puzzle, but it just kind of looks like a weird butterfly thing. So as I was thinking, even though I'd originally decided on doing a doll, as I was drawing the dolls, they either like are super gendered or they kind of just look like babies. And so I thought, what if I replace the puzzle with the doll? Because it feels like the stuffed animal, the stuffed bear, is kind of a good like equal thing with a doll. I mean, I recognize they're different, but like kind of fits into that category. So I decided to run with a ball, a train, a teddy bear, a drum, and a puzzle. And as I was doing these sketches, I kind of liked the stylization on the teddy bear, how it wasn't like a perfect circle. It was kind of a little bit lumpy, so to speak, and had all those curved lines. So I thought, what if I bring that style into all the other things? So you can see I tested out the beach ball up here where I sort of squished it a little bit. So it's not a perfect ball, but it still feels like a ball. And then I thought, okay, well, now's the time. I've covered my paper, so let's flip the paper and let's start refining what these things look like. So I want to kind of aim for a consistent visual style, and I want to work on simplifying things. So I, again, kind of duplicated that beach ball where it was a little bit squishy and off kilter, and the lines aren't like perfectly spaced. but it hopefully still feels like a ball. I could probably alter this line just a little bit, this bottom line, to help it feel a little bit more like a ball. I sort of over exaggerated, um, but that's an easy fix. And then I drew the drum, and if you'll notice, I kind of altered the drum, so I'm no longer seeing it three-dimensionally. I don't see the top, but I made all the lines curve out just a little bit, but it still feels like a drum, and I've got the drumsticks up there. And then I drew this top teddy bear, but he felt a little too complicated, so then I did the bottom teddy bear, and I didn't do some of the extra details inside the paws and the ears. And I tried to kind of squish him out even a little bit more, and make the neck less in. And I kind of like that, feels a little bit simpler, but still in keeping with the style. Then I drew the puzzle. I drew this first one on the left, but it felt like I had too many puzzle pieces, and I didn't like how it went in on the sides because everything else I had drawn had felt very more rounded. Instead of curving in, it all curved out. So I drew the second one with less puzzle pieces and more curving out. And then finally I drew the train, where I didn't do Thomas because he felt too complicated and too specific. So I kind of made everything curve on the train. So right now, I could definitely redraw each of these and continue to refine how I get that curvy line, how it's sort of perfectly imperfect. But it feels like I like how these look. They feel like they're visually consistent. The idea is consistent. The way I'm displaying them is consistent. And the simplification, like they're fairly simple so that I could zoom in or zoom out and they would still be recognizable for what they are. The next thing is to decide on color, but we'll save that for next week.